So I'm going to show you a search strategy that I call Leapfrog searching to help you move from a basic search to one that will give you more specific sources related to your topic. Okay, so we're going to start with a basic search term. For example, if I was researching Richard Nixon, obviously I would start with Richard Nixon, and I would look at my sources. Now, with a general search term like that, I'm going to get some pretty basic biographical sources on whitehouse.gov, biography, history, etc. I could also be looking at news things, but I think a lot of you have started with these general background information sites. So let's say I was reading on whitehouse.gov for some background information. And when I'm reading that source, I want to be not just reading for information about him, but reading to figure out what should I be searching next? What additional details should I be searching for about Richard Nixon? Even in this first paragraph, you see that I could look at his history in California. I could look at his work with Vietnam. I could look at Richard Nixon with USSR and China. And I could look up Richard Nixon and Watergate. Okay, so if I go back to my Leapfrog thing here, I could really add lots of different possibilities here. So you see, I could now search Richard Nixon with any of these terms. So I could go back to Google and put in Nixon, Vietnam. And then I can also use some of these help text things here, okay? But let's just see what I find. As I'm looking, notice that I don't just click on the first source as well, okay? Because I've already gotten some good background information. I want to find more news sources or more specific sources that get into different opinions or more educational sites like PBS or maybe Smithsonian Magazine is going to have more looking at different perspectives on an issue rather than just a straight rundown like on the White House website or history.com. Okay, I'm actually going to go to Politico, which I happen to know is a news magazine. But if you weren't sure, you could go to it and you could go to the About page, because remember, every time you're searching, you want to be evaluating sources as you go. So you could click About Us, and on this page, it's going to tell you about the editors, what kind of magazine it is, etc., facts, staff bios, etc. Okay, and Politico is a pretty established news magazine. Okay, so I'm going to read this article for a second and pick another term. So as I was reading, what I found was this talk about something called the Huston Report, and that might be something I want to go back and look at a little bit more. Okay, adding it to my kind of list of things to search because I need to find out more about the Huston Report in order to understand really what was going on with Nixon in Vietnam. So now I'm going to search Huston. Well, plan came up, so I'll go ahead and search that. And I'm going to look here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick this CNN article because what I like about reading news articles is that they will often look at different perspectives on an issue. They'll say things like, some people say this and some people say that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read this topic. Okay, so you can see how starting with Richard Nixon, by doing a little bit more reading and finding additional terms to add to my search, and then a little more reading and evaluating sources, I can get to a very specific topic to bring my research into a lot more detail pretty quickly. Remember that as soon as you find a source that you think is going to be useful, go ahead and save it in EasyBib, okay? Because otherwise sometimes you can lose these as you go, okay? You can always go to your history up here in the corner, view history, and remember which things you had seen recently as well. All right, so that's a little leapfrog searching.